Hey, welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate, 12 noon every Friday. We come to you to help you grow, develop, and mastermind to basically enhance your real estate business or really any business it is that you're involved in. And we get a lot of you guys tuning in, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, our Success Center, Tampa School of Real Estate.com/success to enhance your business, whether it's real estate related, or just completely unrelated to real estate and you just like hearing about it. But anyways, we're talking about a very important topic today. But before we tell you what the topic is, let me tell you what we're doing here. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. I'm John Carismo, and again, every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, we come to you live to help you mastermind and grow your business. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, give us a call at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106. You can also visit us online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com. But let's get into today's show. We're talking about the power of a routine. And if you know me, you know I'm not the type of person that's super into routines, that at least I don't seem that way. I like to be the quote-unquote spontaneous person and just kind of at a whim with type of things and doing things basically without some sort of plan. I'm kind of like the anti-planner, but at the same time, I'm still a very strategic person. So how do I have these two kind of juxtaposed ideas in mind where I do understand the importance of some sort of plan and strategy, or in this case, what we're talking about today, a routine, but also at the same time, still very spontaneous and whatnot. And that just comes down to what really ultimately is important. So the power of a routine. So let's get down to the science of this, because a lot of this is biological stuff of why routine will basically give you superpowers almost. And I get asked all the time, John, how do you know all this stuff? How do you find out about how to get superpowers? And I wasn't born with this knowledge. I acquired this knowledge. There's a great book that I definitely recommend you check out, whether you read it on paper or you check out the Audible version of it. I'm a big proponent of Audible. It's called The Power of Habit, and it's somebody Duhigg. The guy's name's Duhigg. I think that's his first name or his last name. I don't know. It's Duhigg. So yeah, check him out, Duhigg, The Power of Habit. A lot of this great stuff in here, because we're just going to be scratching the surface today of this habit stuff, because it goes a lot deeper than this. But the reason why a habit, a routine is so powerful is there's basically two parts of your mind. And there's many parts of your mind. This is just a very broad, simplistic way to categorize it. But you have your higher level thinking brain. Your higher level thinking brain, so when I'm communicating with you right now and formulating these ideas and putting these sentences together, that's more so relying on that higher part of your brain, the higher thoughts process, the higher brain waves and whatnot, because that requires more advanced thinking. Now, the other part, the lower part of your brain, is one way to look at it, and it's really, it's not as complex. It can't understand complex topics, but when you have something, this is really your instincts. Your instincts are found in this lower order part of your mind. So your instincts are found in this lower order part of your mind, basically, where, and like I said, this could be the superpower stuff. What was one way you could kind of look at it. This lower part of your mind is so much more powerful. It's maybe not smart, but it's strong. And when you have something that you do continuously over and over and over and over again, that's where this lower order, less thinking, more powerful part of your mind, the 90% of your mind that you don't use, it's not that you don't use your mind 100%, it's just you don't have control over your mind 100%. There's 90% of it you could influence, and you could basically get it to understand what it is that you need to do, and that's through going through a routine. And now to kind of let's take a step back and make this a little bit more simple. Let's put in some more basic terms and to understand how you probably even have this power of habit within you. How many times have you been driving down the road through a very routine type of route, and you'll be driving, especially if this is late at night, or if it's because you have other things on your mind, something's distracting your higher level mind, and then all of a sudden you just realize, you're wondering how you got to this point. You're sitting there driving, you're like, wait a minute, when did I get way up here? Or maybe you're passing your exit, and that's all of a sudden where your consciousness comes back in, and you're like, oh my God, how have I been driving this whole way? How have I not been thinking about this whole way going through this here? And that's your habitual mind taking over. And when you understand the power that exists here, and now how did you teach your habitual mind to drive? How did you not die in a fiery crash? Maybe you missed your exit because you were supposed to take a different exit than what you're used to do. But how did you not die in some fiery explosion, being that you weren't thinking about driving while you're driving? Well, it becomes an instinct. It becomes a habit. It becomes something that's second nature to you, especially if you follow the same route every day. That's the power of habit. That's the power of this lower order mind that you have. So now let's tie this into real estate here, because I mean we just kind of went really off topic with it. I mean, for what this is, and science and biology and all kinds of crap like that. But now, what does this mean to you? How can you use this to make yourself more money, to enhance your business, to better serve your customers? And the way you do that is you develop a routine. You have a certain strategy of things that you're doing every day, of rules that you follow, of a certain thing that you do. And you might have heard, there's a book out from Tim Ferriss, and he's real big on this whole routine type of thing, particularly a morning routine. He just did this whole book, Tools of Titans, and it's one of the big things in his podcast, I think it's like the 4-hour show or something 4-hour. But it all kind of focuses and hinges around, one of the big questions is, hey, what is your routine? What is it that you do every day that makes you special? And there's some people, I'm like, come on, guy, do you really do that? Do you really go and run 30 miles every day? And maybe they don't do it every day, or maybe it's not something that extreme, but when you have this routine of these things that you're doing that are constantly pushing yourself forward and making yourself better and better and increasing yourself every single day, that's that power of habit, where your subconscious mind, your habitual, instinctual mind is going to learn what it is that you're doing. So let's talk about how you could tie this in with real estate. So let's say in real estate, I mean, one of the big things with real estate, and you're not going to have a real estate business unless you understand how to do this or you're paying somebody to do this, but lead generation is huge. Lead generation is the one thing that if you can't do or you can't pay somebody to do, you're not going to be successful, not just in the real estate business, but any business. You need to have customers to sell your services or to sell your products to. If you don't have customers to sell your products or sell your services to, what are you doing? You're playing business. So you need to have the customers. That's your number one most important aspect. Nothing else matters unless you have customers. So lead generation is an essential part of the real estate business. And again, like any business for that matter, you need to be able to lead generate. So what you need to do is develop some sort of habit. Because if you lead generate here and there, because not everybody likes to lead generate. I mean, lead generation can be a pain sometimes too, where you got to go out, whether it's your door knocking or you're holding open houses or you're writing checks every month to Zillow or letting them charge your card on Zillow. It's usually how that works, or Realtor.com or Trulia, or you're paying for a website where you're paying pay-per-click. But even with those, you're still having to follow up, and you're still in the lead generation process. Just because they're giving you the person doesn't really mean that they're your lead or your client. They're just an inquiry, really. So this whole lead generation process, especially if you don't have a strong habit and a strong routine behind it, it's going to be stuff where you're like, oh, I got to do this again. It's that time of the month. I got to start calling people because I'm all out of sales in my pipeline. So it could definitely make or break your business as far as the lead generation goes. So we're going to talk some more about how you could implement this and tie this into your business. So don't go anywhere. You're watching State of Real Estate. When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment. Need help preparing for your exam? We've got you covered. Join us for a structured weekend review class where we'll cover the topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams. Class sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now by calling 813-928-0106 or registering online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Have you been thinking about starting a real estate career but are struggling to find the time to go back to school? Allow us to introduce our revolutionary online course platform. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we have used our years of education experience and student feedback to bring you the finest and best online course. Visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or call us at 813-928-0106, that's 813-928-0106 to learn more and register for our online course today. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career. Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. Today we're talking about the power of routine, the power of habit, and how you could use that to take your business to the next level, to really explode and exponentially grow your real estate business from maybe just doing one deal here and there, because that's a big problem in the real estate industry with agents that are struggling to kind of figure this out, to turn this into just something that maybe they're doing as like a part-time gig, something on the side, to really kind of blow this up and turn this into something where you're overwhelmed with business, where you have more clients, more deals, more contracts than you could handle yourself. And that's where we want to get you. That's why we do these shows every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. tampaschoolofrealestate.com/success on YouTube, on Facebook. You can watch the recording over there. And if you're curious as to how this power of habit works, go back and watch this first segment, because we went through and we talked all about the basics of basically this habitual mind. So what you want to do is you want to maximize your routine around ways that are going to generate business. Now, you have to figure out what it is that you're doing particularly for lead generating. We'll use some very generic type of lead generation methods here. There's all kinds of ways you could do this in a much more effective way that you could really kind of hone into this. You could put more your own spin in it and whatnot. But let's just say cold calling. As dreadful as it seems, and really it's only dreadful if you suck at it. If you're no good at cold calling, you're not going to like cold calling. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to like cold calling. If you don't do it regularly, if you don't have a routine, you're not going to like cold calling. But it's a great way to make a killing generating leads. And I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're trying to grow your business. So let's talk about cold calling and how you can make cold calling not suck. So how do we make cold calling not suck? Well, number one, you're going to get yourself some sort of routine. Get yourself some sort of time of the day that you carve out that this is your cold calling time. And you talk to any top producing agent that's out there, they're going to tell you how much time either themselves or people in their team spend on lead generation. And hey, even if after you perfect your cold calling that you still don't like it, hey, that's fine. Not everybody does like cold calling, but hire yourself some inside sales associates, some ISAs that could actually do this cold calling and lead generation for you. And it's not even just for generating the leads initially. It's for following up with past clients, staying in touch with clients that you've already sold something to, staying in touch with people that you haven't shown a house yet, but they've kind of maybe have inquired with you. You have all these people that aren't necessarily ready to buy yet, but you've already invested time in them. And you don't want to throw that time away. You have to stay in contact with them. So to utilize this power of habit, the power of the routine, to basically apply this to your business to kind of really increase your pipeline. Number one, you got to get people in the pipeline. So number one, you got to get people lined up to work with you. And cold calling is a great way to do that. So what I would recommend doing is carve yourself out some time every single day that you're going to be calling people. And now there's no perfect answer to this, because really the perfect answer is just do it. It doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you don't violate telemarketing laws and all that other stuff. So look those up to make sure that you're staying on the good side of the law with all this here. And don't get yourself too hung up on that stuff either. I mean, yeah, you might get a fine down the road, and I'm sorry if you get any sort of fine. If you're worried about the fines and if that's just going to destroy your life, definitely go look up those laws to make sure you don't run into those troubles and whatnot. But really test out these different times, and it's really broad for when you can actually do calling if someone's not on the do not call list. I think the hours are like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it's like basically any normal hour you'd call somebody. Don't be calling people at 4 a.m. because that's definitely illegal, and they're not going to be too happy about it if you're waking them up at 4 a.m. to talk to them about real estate. So that's probably not going to be good, but maybe in the morning before they're going to work, or immediately like right after 5, between like 5 and 6, maybe then 7. Again, you got to test this stuff out. Just start making the phone calls and find out when people are in fact picking up the phone. You could even maximize this and get one of the power dialers. The power dialers, if you don't know what one of these are already, it's you load up a list of phone numbers in the power dialer, and it dials like 3 different phones at the same time. And you might say, John, why would I want to call 3 different phones at the same time? What if all 3 people pick up? They're not all going to pick up. Yes, they may all pick up, but I think like the statistics, something like 70% of people don't answer the phone from a number it is that they don't know. Whether it's because they're busy at the moment, maybe they are at work at the moment, maybe they're having dinner with their family, or they're at one of their kids' sporting events or something along those lines. So you're interrupting their day. And there's no good time to interrupt somebody's day. You just got to do it. So get yourself over that first hurdle, that first roadblock of cold calling, by just saying, hey, look, you just got to do it. And like I said, if you really want to take this to the next level, you can invest in one of those power dialer systems and load up a whole list of people where you could basically almost get connections just like that. And you could really make this rocking and rolling and really maximizing your time effectively. But hey, look, if you're starting on a bootstrap budget and you're still waiting to try to get your first commission check, you don't need to go invest in a power dialer. You got a power dialer right here. Just kind of try to type as fast as you can in your phone. I mean, it's not like it's not the old school where you got to roll it around. And if you got one of those phones, you got to upgrade yourself. I'm sure we're not dealing with that. But anyways, so number one is just make the call. Whatever time it is that you're doing, as long as you're complying with the laws, you're not calling people on the do not call list, all that nonsense. But you're calling people. You're making a habit out of this. You're doing it every day. We did a State of Real Estate episode a few weeks back about starting part-time in real estate. If you guys haven't seen that one yet, I definitely recommend it. Because this power of routine, it doesn't matter whether you're a full-time agent rocking and rolling, got more business than you know what to do with, or if you're just somebody starting part-time where maybe you're already working some other job and you're just trying to kind of get your feet in the water in real estate and eventually take that to be where this could be your thing, your business, your baby basically, of where you're the real estate guru basically, and everybody comes to you when they want to buy or sell a house or invest in property or whatever that may be. So the key thing is you got to be there every single day doing this. But don't just be doing random stuff. Don't be like just kind of coming into the office. If you're coming into the office and you're saying, yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to do today, stay home. I mean, really, just stay home if you don't know if you don't have anything planned. If you're just going to goof off, go to the office or go to wherever it is that is you're working. I mean, maybe you're a satellite agent that's just kind of, working around and about. But I mean, don't go sit in front of the computer saying that you're going to be working on your real estate business when really you're just kind of like scrolling through Facebook saying, oh, well, I'm prospecting for people. I'm learning about my clients. No, you're not. You're messing around on Facebook. So get yourself some sort of routine of what you're doing to actually lead generate. And the key here is clarity. Now, some of the stuff that I'm saying you might not like, because maybe you're thinking to yourself like, oh yeah, maybe I do go on Facebook and kind of mess around in there when I'm supposed to be working, when I'm supposed to be lead generating. And if you're wondering why you don't have any leads, maybe there's your answer right there. So what you want to do is, number one, make the calls. So number one, you got to be making the calls, or whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're door knocking or you're holding open houses, you have to be putting in the activity. Now, if you're doing an open house, that's usually like a once or twice a week type of thing. Saturdays and Sundays, you usually don't want to do an open house during the week because, who's going to show up to that? So that's not something you can really make into a daily ritual, but door knocking, you could absolutely do it every day. Calling on the phone, you could absolutely do that every day. And hey, if you're worried about telemarketing calls, get out there and go knock on doors. And unless you see a no solicitation sign, and even if you do see one of those, I mean, they're just going to ask you nicely to leave. So you'll be fine. Don't stress yourself out so much about this, and don't let these rules and these confinements really stop you from taking action that you need to grow your real estate business. So let's talk about the purpose of these calls, because you're not just going to call random people up and say, hi, I'm John, I'm a real estate agent, and expect them to be like, oh, I need a real estate agent. You might get lucky someday where lightning strikes, where you hit gold, you're mining for diamonds, and boom, there you go, you got your diamond. So that might happen where you could say, I'm a real estate agent, and eventually, if you make probably 10,000 phone calls, you'll eventually get a person that says, hey, I need a real estate agent, thanks for calling me. But that's unlikely. So don't go in there expecting that. And that's the key to making sure that you're not going to hate cold calling, is know what the expectation is. The expectation is they're not going to want to talk to you. That's number one. They're not going to want to talk to you. Number two, they don't need a real estate agent right now. If they did need a real estate agent right now, they probably wouldn't just be sitting at their phone staring at it hoping a real estate agent calls them. That's not how it works. They'd go online, search for an agent, maybe pull out the phone book if they're old school, go look for a real estate agent. So you're calling these people that probably want nothing to do with you. They don't want to talk to you. You're interrupting their day, and I'm painting a pretty bad picture. Why would you want to be this terrible person that's calling them? So if you're just calling them to waste their time, you have no business cold calling. You're just going to frustrate yourself, and you're going to frustrate the people it is that you're calling. So you have to have a purpose behind your call. There has to be a purpose. Number one, you got to make the calls, because even if you're just making random calls and just saying you're a real estate agent, eventually you're going to hit gold where you do finally get a commission, and it'll probably all be worthwhile. But let's not waste our time. Let's try to be efficient about this. So you want to have a purpose to making the phone calls. Whether this purpose is maybe somebody that's inquired from you. Maybe somebody filled out a form on your website or sent you an inquiry on Zillow, but maybe they weren't ready at the time. So that's a list of people. You should have a list that you're keeping of all these people that are somebody that was a past inquiry that you need to build into a client. And notice how I say you need to build into a client. But you're like, John, what if they already talked to me? What if they already called me? Aren't they already my client? No, they're not your client. You don't have the right to claim ownership of them if you don't have that established relationship. The only time you can claim ownership to call somebody your client is if this is the only way that they'll ever do a real estate transaction, is if they're using you. Then they're your client. If you're to that point where you have such a fantastic relationship with them, where they refuse to use anybody else, then they're your client. So that's what you need to work. That's the end goal. So the purpose in these types of calls would be basically trying to build that relationship, trying to build that rapport. And again, if you're just calling to expect them to say yes because you're saying, hey, do you want to go see this house? And you just expect them to say yes, you're going to get frustrated. So your expectation for these calls, the purpose of these calls is just to build the relationship. If you get an appointment out of it, maybe, hey, you start bringing up the stuff. Hey, I've been looking at some properties here, and I think they match what you were looking for. You guys got some time this weekend? Oh, no, you're not ready to look at it yet? You know, that's no worries. I just wanted to call in because I saw these here. Oh, by the way, how's like your kid? And then maybe you segue back into maybe just talking some stuff and building this relationship. And then maybe you ask about it again. Say, are you sure you guys don't want to see anything this weekend? Because again, that's another way to build a relationship. So again, the purpose of this, and you have to understand that purpose, is building the relationship. When you understand the purpose and the reason why it is that you're basically making these phone calls here, it's going to suck a lot less. And it's really not going to suck. It's going to be awesome because you'll know what you're doing, you'll know the purpose behind this, and you'll know that this is what's going to take your business to the next level. So we're going to take another quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about cold calling, other reasons you could just be calling people randomly. So don't go anywhere. You're watching State of Real Estate. When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment. Need help preparing for your exam? We've got you covered. Join us for a structured weekend review class where we'll cover the topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams. Class sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now by calling 813-928-0106 or registering online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Have you been thinking about starting a real estate career but are struggling to find the time to go back to school? Allow us to introduce our revolutionary online course platform. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we have used our years of education experience and student feedback to bring you the finest and best online course. Visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or call us at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106 to learn more and register for our online course today. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career. Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. I'm John Carissimo, and every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you to help you grow, develop, and mastermind to enhance your real estate business. And today we're talking about a really higher level type of topic which could apply in so many different areas, and it's the power of a routine. And the more you could leverage this power of a routine, the greater you could enhance your business. And you could use these routines in your personal life. Like, I've got a habit now of where I work out, not every morning. I'd be lying if I'm saying it's every morning. But most mornings, I'm getting up, and I'm getting up before the sun's even up, and working out. And I've been able to take my physical fitness to a whole nother level because I've leveraged this power of the routine. So it works for anything, whether it's driving your car, whether it's fitness, whether it's building your business, or just learning social skills. That this power of habit, like I said, your subconscious mind is so much more powerful than your conscious mind. So you definitely want to leverage this ability. So we're talking about how you could use this in your business. And before the break, we were talking about cold calls. Number one, why you should be doing the cold calls and how this is going to basically have an impact on your business. Number two, we talked about some key things to know going into doing cold calls. Like for instance, number one, you're going to be interrupting people's day and they're not going to want to talk to you. So remember, that's the expectations. You got to know the purpose and the expectations behind this here. You want to know that every time you're calling somebody, you have to have a purpose for calling them. So you want to try to segment the calls it is that you're making. But let's go back to this power of habit thing. We'll get more into details about cold calling and how you could use this and how you could use it to grow your business and when you should do it and so on and so forth. But the power of habit, you want to try to carve out a time that you're going to be doing this. And like I said, you can play around with these times and find what works best for you. Maybe you're not a morning person. And maybe if you're making calls in the morning, first thing in the morning, you're groggy, you're tired, you're not ready to go, you're not at your peak state. So that's not a good time for you to make phone calls. But maybe in the afternoon, maybe after work, after people are getting out of work, maybe that's a good time. Maybe you find out you get more people answering the calls. Maybe they're more receptive to talking to you that time of day. Whatever time it is that you want to do it, just get something so you can be consistent about it. So you could have something that you're going to be doing every single day. Every single day, that this time is your time to make calls. And you might say, John, well, what about the weekend? Should I call people on weekends too? Absolutely. They're probably more likely to pick up their phone on a weekend than a weekday. I don't have any official statistics on that. I'm sure I'll find some after this because that's piqued my curiosity. But my assumption is on the weekend, people are probably more likely to pick up their phone because when do telemarketers work? Telemarketers work during the week. They usually don't make calls on the weekend. So on a weekend, that's usually a more leisurely type of time for phone calls. So you'll probably even have better results calling on weekends. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't call during the week. Like I said, you want to have a routine where you're doing this every day. And again, if you're scared of telemarketing laws, if you don't know the telemarketing laws, if you don't like the phone, if you do better talking to somebody in person, you don't have to be calling. You don't have to be calling at all. You could be door knocking, which, again, get ready for rejection. Know the purpose of this. The purpose of this, so when you're door knocking, you're probably not, and with door knocking, so what door knocking is, in case you don't understand this concept, it's picking a neighborhood and just walking down the block, knocking on doors, knocking on doors, knocking on doors, till somebody finally answers. And what that somebody that finally answers is probably going to do, unless you could really grab their attention, they're probably just going to close the door on you. Probably close the door right in your face. No, I'm not interested. Bye. So understand that that's the expectation. That's probably what you're going to... Most of the doors probably won't even open, number one. And number two, when they do open, now this depends on how good you are here, how good you are to capture their attention and make them want to talk to you. I saw a joke. I don't know if any of you guys follow that. There's this Instagram account, and they've got like Facebook and all kinds of stuff like that too, called the Broke Agent. These guys are they're pretty funny. They posted something a while back that said, "Hey, don't worry about your script going door knocking. Maybe have a dog with you." I was like, oh, I mean, if somebody showed up at the door with a dog, I'd probably go out and I'd go pet the dog. So, like I said, you got to experiment with these things, and you got to think outside the box. I mean, you might have the best script in the world and still get the door closed in your face. Maybe it's down to what you're wearing. Maybe it's down to the way your hair's cut. Maybe it's down to it's a hot day outside and people don't want to keep the door open because they're letting all the AC out here. I mean, whatever it is, don't think too much about the reasons why they're rejecting you unless you are getting the rejections. Just get out there and do the work, number one. Get out there, make the cold calls, go door knocking, do whatever it is you have to do to actually lead generate. But like I said, you got to have a purpose with this here. The purpose is to introduce yourself in this case. With the cold calls we were talking about before, and they weren't even necessarily cold calls, they were more so warm calls because these are people that already know who we are. I mean, maybe they end up getting cold if you don't contact them for a while, which that's bad. You don't want that to happen. But basically making these calls to people that you're interrupting their day somehow. If you're knocking on somebody's door, you're interrupting their day as well. And the whole point of this here, you're not going to go knocking on a door. You may. Again, you'll probably hit 1 in 10,000 or whatever it may be, where you knock on enough doors and eventually somebody's like, hey, you know what? You're a real estate agent? Actually, come on in. I was just about to call a real estate agent, and boom, that is all worth it right there. But that's very unlikely that's going to happen. That's not the expectation. So don't go in there with the expectation, or if you're holding open houses, if you're holding an open house, don't expect somebody to come in there and say they want to buy this house. This one, I do have a statistic for you. With the open houses, less than 1% of houses sell as a result of an open house. So if you think the purpose that you're at an open house is to sell the open house, or if you think the purpose of door knocking is that you're going to knock on a door and every single person that answers is going to say, hey, I need a real estate agent, or if you think that you're cold calling, and let's say even you're cold calling expired listings, you're cold calling listings that people tried to sell their property, but it didn't sell, so maybe you're cold calling them to try to say, hey, look, I could sell your property, come list it with me, I know you guys want to sell, let me help you sell it. The purpose, and that one's even a more finite one, but even then, you'll probably still get a lot of rejection. So you got to understand that whole rejection is part of the process here. The whole point of this here is introducing yourself and reinforcing these relationships. So have some sort of routine with this. And maybe you're not door knocking every day, because, I mean, if you're going to door knock every day, I commend you. You're going to be probably the next best real estate agent in the entire universe if you're out there door knocking every single day. Because number one, you're going to get used to rejection. And there's a lot of rejection, not just in real estate, but sales in general, or any sort of business, you handle a lot of rejection. So the more you can get used to that rejection and just know it's going to occur, and then know how to overcome these objections, these complaints that people are having, the better you're going to get at actually doing your business. For serving your clients, for supporting your family, for enhancing your real estate brand and providing a greater service to greater numbers of people. So the more you can kind of understand what it is that you absolutely need to do every single day, that's how you could factor that into this whole kind of routine. So get yourself some sort of strategy that you're going to be doing every single day. Every single day you're doing this, this, and this. You're doing this, this, and this. And the more you do those every single day, the better you're going to get at this, this, and this. So if it's cold calling, and then door knocking, and then getting ready for an open house, and then another day holding the open house, if you have these duties that you're doing every day, and these are the duties that people don't like to do unless they realize how powerful they are, then you'll probably start to like doing these. You'll like cold calling when you start getting sales from the cold calls you'll make. And that's the whole difference maker, really, between dreading making these phone calls and enjoying making the phone calls, is when you start to see the results that you're getting. The whole concept of burnout, this idea of burnout, basically, it doesn't occur because you're just overworked. Burnout it's a common misconception that burnout is related to being overworked. I worked 80 plus hours a week. I work every day of the week. I teach 16-hour classes across weekends. I should be the most burnt out person out there, but I'm not, because this all aligns with my purpose. I see results. I see students that understand and grow and develop. I've helped people grow and develop their real estate career, and that brings me joy. That helps keep me going. And the cool thing behind it is it aligns with my purpose, and I'm able to see the results. So this is pushing me forward towards my ultimate greater purpose. And that's what you have to find as well, and build the routines and build the habits around that ultimate major purpose, where you're doing stuff every day that's ultimately pushing you closer and closer to your end goal. When you understand getting to that end goal is not going to happen overnight, and if you could get to your goal tomorrow, you need to get some bigger goals. You need to have some bigger goals if you have a goal that could be accomplished by tomorrow. So you have some long-term goals, and the key thing is to work on it every single day. The more time you can spend every single day doing the things that actually are pushing you towards your goal, the faster you're going to get there. The more you're going to align with your purpose, the more you're going to avoid burnout. So this whole routine aspect thing, and a lot of this information here, and this isn't me just sit up here making stuff up. I mean, this is stuff that I've tested, but when I went to test some of this stuff, it might not even be my original organic idea. For example, with all the stuff we're talking about today with the power of routine, the power of habit, there's a book called The Power of Habit. So check that out. It's I think his name is Charles. I think it's Charles Duhigg. The Power of Habit is the name of the book. I'm not always good with names, but Power of Habit is the name of the book, and that really kind of drills down into this. And that gives you the idea. It gives you the foundation that if you build habits, if you tap into your subconscious mind, which is your very powerful portion of your mind, it's not powerful for complicated thinking, for complex thinking, for making art and things like that, unless that stuff becomes second nature to you. When you could do something and you don't even have to think about it while doing it, that's when that's part of your subconscious mind. I mean, sometimes here, even while I'm talking to you guys, I'll be teaching a class, I'll be on our live stream. Sometimes my mind will even wander elsewhere while I've been talking. And I mean, this is skills that I've developed over years of presenting to people. And the first time I felt it happen, the first time where I felt my subconscious took over for this very higher level type of thinking, where I was talking and basically talking about these complicated topics, but at the same time, my mind's thinking about something else. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm still talking. I'm still giving this information. What's going on? How am I doing this? Who took over my body? It's my subconscious mind took over the body. So it's very possible for these higher level tasks, whether it's cold calling. If the key thing is having a routine, having something that's replicatable, and actually replicating it day after day after day after day. And the more you replicate this, the more repetition you have behind this, the easier it gets, where you'll have stuff down like that. So you're watching State of Real Estate. We're going to take another quick commercial break here, but stay with us. I'm John Carissimo. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment. Need help preparing for your exam? We've got you covered. Join us for a structured weekend review class where we'll cover the topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams. Class sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now by calling 813-928-0106 or registering online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Have you been thinking about starting a real estate career, but are struggling to find the time to go back to school? Allow us to introduce our revolutionary online course platform. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we have used our years of education experience and student feedback to bring you the finest and best online course. Visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or call us at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106 to learn more and register for our online course today. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career.
Hey, if you like the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Christman, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you to help you grow, develop, mastermind, enhance your real estate business, and really any sort of business. The topics we're talking about will apply to them, especially what we're talking about today. We're talking about the power of habit, the power of a routine. And I can't take full credit for these ideas here. I really can take only very little credit of this. Check out that book, Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg. It really dives down into the science behind this and how this all works. But what we've been talking about, and if you're just tuning into this here, make sure you go back and watch from the beginning. If you're watching on YouTube, you can rewind right now. If you're on Facebook, just tune in after the show. It's going to be live, the video on the recording on the actual page. So make sure you go back and check out that stuff we talked about at the beginning here. But basically what we're covering here is how to take something that's essential to your business and make it so you do it every single day, that you do it every day without question. And now this is something that I grapple with every single day. I'm sure a bunch of you guys watching will have problems and issues with this as well, where you're like, I'm just not a routine type of person. Believe me, I'm probably one of the least routine types of persons out there, but that doesn't mean I can't develop a routine. I'm able to develop routines because I know the power of these routines, and I know what these routines will be able to yield in the long run. These little routines are things that aren't going to change your lives overnight. Like I said, so one of the things I picked up recently, and not so recently, I've been doing this consistently for probably about a year now, is working out in the mornings. So working out used to be something I would do occasionally and every now and then, and I would go to the gym and go lift some weights, and you're not expected to just be like pumped overnight. I'd be like, what's going on here? What's wrong with my muscles here? But I mean, unless you're like on some illicit substances, that's just not how it works. So just like growing yourself stronger, if you want to grow yourself stronger mentally, if you want to grow your business stronger, you have to have some routines behind it. You have to have the habits behind it, the things that you're doing every single day that you're doing consistently. So we talked about lead generation, how essential that is to the real estate business, whether you're cold calling, you're warm calling, you're holding open houses, you're out there door knocking, whatever it is that you're doing, that it's prospecting that you're doing every day. Hey, if you want to hang out in Home Depot for an hour every day and pass out business cards in the paint section, when people are in the paint section, you know, maybe they're there just because their significant other has been nagging them to paint the place. But aside from that, they either just bought a house or they're about to sell their house. And the people we want to tap into is that third that are about to sell their house. So there's a potential for lead generation there. You can generate leads all over the place. The key thing we're talking about today, it doesn't matter where and when you lead generate. The key is that you do it every day. And that's going to help give you the foundation to grow your business further. Because, hey, without customers, without clients, without people to sell your products or services to, I mean, what are you doing? Really? I mean, you could be the greatest real estate agent in the world, the most knowledgeable real estate agent in the world, but if you don't have customers, what are you doing? What is it that you're actually doing? What is all that knowledge even good for if you don't have any customers? So understanding that aspect of how important it is to have customers, to have clients, whatever it is that you're calling them, that's huge, and that lead generation ties directly into that. But let's talk about how we can fit in this power of habit in other parts of our business as well. The lead generation is huge because that's something that people don't like to do or they get distracted from doing. Because what happens when you're lead generating all the time, you might get bored. You might actually get some sort of client. Maybe you get a couple clients. Maybe you get phenomenal at lead generating, making cold calls, door knocking, whatever it is you're doing to actually lead generate. So maybe you get fantastic at doing this, but then you start focusing more on showing the clients the houses, which is great because, I mean, you got to show them the houses and so on and so forth to eventually get the commission check. So that's definitely an important part of the process, but you can't neglect and forget about that lead generation. So like I said, that's why you want to do this every single day. You want to make this part of the subconscious mind. Take these habits, these things that you should be doing every day, and force them to become a habit. It's absolutely possible to force a habit upon yourself. Sometimes it's easier to force a habit on yourself. Look at smokers or drug addicts or people addicted to alcohol or whatever substance it may be. That's a very easy habit to pick up. So you can absolutely train yourself a habit. And those types of substances typically have more factors that are making it easy, that are building that habit artificially. But it's absolutely possible. It's just a little bit harder to build these positive habits. I mean, whether it's eating right, working out, or growing your business. If you're doing these things every single day that are going to enhance your business, that's going to have huge effects. If you look at how habits could manipulate somebody's life, either for the worse or for the better, you understand the power of what this can do. So what you have to do is figure out the things that you need to do every single day and then make sure you're doing them every single day. It's going to be hard for probably the first month, the first couple months really. After you get through the first 30 days of doing this, they say it takes about 21 days to build a habit, and that's fine. At day 21, you'll have that habit created, but now the key is in reinforcing that habit, keeping that a natural habit, and staying a habit, making it so this is something that is continuously staying part of your business. So whether, like I said, that's cold calling, and even if you guys don't have a real estate business per se, you still need to have some sort of lead generation, whether it's you're in the real estate industry, but just maybe not a real estate professional, or whatever business it may be, you have to have a way to generate a client base. Maybe you're some sort of restaurant or something like that, maybe something more off the wall. What is it that you're doing to get customers? Maybe you're utilizing social media. Social media is a great example of where you need to utilize lead generation techniques, and you have to have the consistency behind it as well. Because if you go on Facebook and you could have the best post in the world, but if you don't post anything after that, I mean, what was that good for? A bunch of people will get to know you, but they'll that quickly forget about you as well. So you have to be consistent about it. Build a routine as well, along with maybe gathering some content or maybe writing some blog articles or whatever it is that you're doing. The lead generation is probably what's going to increase the most from these powers of habit. So the more you could utilize this habit, the greater that's going to help grow your business as it relates with lead generation, but also following up with clients. Maybe you're not lead generating, but you're warming them up. You're building a relationship with them. That's another way to really kind of exponentially increase the power it is that you're getting from the habits. And the more you can make these habits, the easier it is to do. You'd even make habits for, again, these more higher level types of things. Get yourself a habit around showing houses. Get yourself a habit around listing appointments. Well, how do I get a habit on listing appointments? You go on listing appointments. Well, what about maybe I don't want to practice on clients? That's a good idea not to practice on your clients. So why don't you build these habits by role-playing with somebody? Find somebody that's got some time to spare and say, hey, look, do you mind if I spend a couple minutes like pitching you? Because I'm trying to get some listings and I just want to pitch you to see if it's compelling enough for you to use me. So you do some role plays with somebody, whether it's another agent that's got nothing better to do, or it's a friend or a family member or a significant other or whoever it may be, and have them be hard on you. Have them make you be a professional. You look at professional athletes. So Tom Brady's a great example. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't follow sports too much, but I do find a lot of interest in people that are at the top of their game. What was it that made Tom Brady such a icon, basically, in the sports world, where he can go out there? And so there was an interview over the past Super Bowl that he did. And this was really something that wowed me when I heard about this. And they basically asked him, what was going through your mind when you're down all these points, when you were so far behind that the game was basically over? What was going through your mind? And this is kind of summing it up, but he was like, nothing. Nothing was going in my mind. You don't think, just do is basically the whole process. But he wasn't born that way. You know, maybe he was born with a good bone structure, good muscle structure, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't make him good at football. The way he's been able to hone his techniques is I mean, and this guy's, I don't know exactly how long, but I've heard his name for years. So he's been in, probably his entire life, he's been playing football. So that's all just second nature to him. When you make something second nature to you, you could be at the top of your level. And even when you find yourself in stressful situations, maybe you're sitting down at a listing appointment, and they're just throwing objections at you right and left. They're saying, oh, well, let's say you're trying to negotiate the commission, and you don't want to work for less than, let's say, 7%, but they don't want to pay 7%. You're like, no, that's way too much. We can't pay you 7%. And if a lot of agents, what happens and why they end up backing down in their commission rates that they're accepting is they get nervous. They get nervous and they don't have the answers. They become under stress. And when you're under stress, stress is something that like just clouds your entire mind. It clouds your judgments. It clouds your communication skills. It just completely rips you apart. And there's really no way around it, because when you get stressed, those things happen. But what you can do is control the stress. You could not let the stress in. If you're able to not let the stress in, and now how would you do that in this particular situation where you're on a listing appointment and you're negotiating commission, and maybe they say something, maybe you have a bunch of responses prepared, but they say something that maybe you don't have a direct response for. That'll maybe stress you out. So how can we fix that? Is you try to get a response for every single thing they could possibly say. Whether it's this person will do it for this price, this agent will said they'll list our property for 4%. Why should we pay you 3% more, or whatever it may be? So if you have these responses ready, you're not going to get stressed out because you already know what to say. In order to control a situation, you can't control a situation without knowledge. You need to know what it's like getting into this environment and what basically this is all going to look like and all the different routes this could play out. That's what was going through Tom Brady's mind in the Super Bowl. He's like, okay, this could happen. He knows that. He doesn't even have to think about that. He just knows. And when he can get to that point, you've done so many listing appointments where you just know what to say. You don't even have to think about what you're saying. You're just saying it. You're not going to be stressed out because you already know what to do. That's where the stress comes from. The stress comes from not wanting to be embarrassed, not embarrassing yourself, or if you don't get this listing, maybe you're not able to feed your family or whatever it may be. So that's where the stress comes from. And once that stress gets in there, it's hard to get rid of. I mean, there's certain things you could do, but there's really no way when you find yourself in a stressful situation not to be stressed other than knowing basically what to do next, knowing what the next steps are. And not even to where you have to think about what these next steps are, just knowing that, hey, this is what I have to do after that. So that's the power of a routine. That's the power of a habit, whether you're using that for lead generation, maybe you're doing that for how you handle your listing appointments, how you handle your buyer consultation appointments, how it is that you handle showings, how it is that you hold open houses. The more you practice something, the more you do something, more repetition and firepower that you put behind something, the easier it's going to be to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And that is the power of a routine. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope it's going to be something that you could implement in your business. And I know it's going to be something you can implement and use in your business. I hope you use it. If you guys are just tuning in now, like I said, go back, watch the recording, because this power of routine is huge. This is going to be what makes your business predictable, that makes it consistent, that makes you understand what the future holds with your business. So definitely utilize this. Hey, like I said, if you want to read more about that, check out the guy, Duhigg, The Power of Habit. That's a great book. That really kind of introduced me to this whole topic, so definitely check that out. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Remember to tune in next week, again, 12 noon every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. We do State of Real Estate. This is specifically geared toward growing your business, taking it to the next level, really understanding what it is that you need to do to become that next superstar agent. Or hey, maybe you're just trying to make some money while you're retired, or you're trying to get like a little side hustle going on to supplement your main job. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you're happy with where you're at, I mean, if you enjoy the show, definitely watch it, but you don't need to watch the show if you're happy where you're at. This show is about growing yourself, about growing your business, and getting to those goals that you ultimately want to achieve. So like I said, tune in next week Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. Subscribe on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. Go to tampaschoolofrealestate.com/success. You can put in your email address there, and we'll send you notifications every time we're live, and we've got some new interesting content for you to help you grow your business. But that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.